everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back with a brand new speed build, this time doing a humongous, prestigious high school. So this is Copperdale Academy. It's built on a 64 by 64 lot in Copperdale, and it comes in at around 755,000 simoleons. So I'm not sure the simoleons really make a difference, to be honest, with special venues, but I thought I would throw that in anyway. So before I get into talking all about the build, I just want to say a massive thank you for all the comments on my last video. I've taken a break for over 4 years and I honestly didn't expect anybody to really be there. I thought maybe at a stretch, I'd see 1 or 2 familiar faces, but I was reading through my comments and I was honestly blown away. That much so that I think on the Monday morning, I came to read the comments and I just ended up bursting into tears because I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was honestly over the moon. So I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who is still here as well. There were so many familiar faces. It really did mean the world to me, so thank you very much for that. So someone in my last video actually asked me whether I had a creator code for The Sims 4. Now thank you so much for that comment, because I didn't actually even know that was a thing. But I've since contacted the Sims team and they are making me a creator code as we speak. So as soon as I have more information on that, I will let you guys know. But it's basically a code that enables you to support me and my channel if you're looking to purchase any more Sims packs. So I would have actually had this build out a lot sooner, but the Sims 4 have released the Business and Hobbies expansion pack. So I actually started this a couple of weeks ago, and then when they announced that they were going to release Business and Hobbies, I thought I'm going to switch and I'm going to do a build for that. So I did a full build for that. I went through all the editing and I literally had the voiceover to do, and I think last minute I was like, no, I don't like it. So I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I kind of feel like if I build something and I'm not like 100% about it, I won't like upload it. I'm just quite fussy like that. So it was a massive time waste really, to be honest, but I thought I'm just going to come back, I'm going to finish this build because I was really enjoying building it as well, and I thought, and then I will refocus and build something bigger and better. So I literally started the Business and Hobbies build today and I'm really liking the way that it's looking so far. So that will be coming soon, and with it I will also be giving away a copy of the Business and Hobbies expansion pack, so definitely keep an ear out for that one. I did actually use some Business and Hobbies items in this build. If you want a full list of all the packs that I used to do this build, your best bet honestly is just to have a look on the gallery, because there's just that many now. It just feels like impossible to list them all. I don't have all the packs yet, but I have got some more packs because I took advantage of the Sims 4 sale this week. So I finally got all the expansion packs, but I'm still missing quite a few. So it's probably best just to have a look on the gallery as far as how many packs I used and which ones. If you do download as well any of my builds at all, just ensure that you're using the cheat bb.moveobjects before you place the build. Sometimes that can kind of interfere with placement and it won't place quite right, so it's just to bear that in mind as well. But I honestly felt with the last build that it was quite difficult to do, because I felt like I was almost doing a crash course in how to play The Sims 4 again. But as soon as I started doing this build, I really got back into it and I'm starting to discover all the new items and really enjoying having a look through and seeing what's come to the game. And there is just so much opportunity for creativity, and it's, yeah, there's some really beautiful items. So I was a lot more fluid in building with this one than I was in the last one. So I tried to make literally every angle of this build interesting, no matter which way you're, or like which side you're looking from. And I did get really into kind of messing around with the finer details on this build. And I really enjoyed it, actually. I really did enjoy this one. At one point, I think I was tempted to make it into a massive house and just have like a humongous mansion. But then I was like, no, I really want to do a school, because since I've come back, they've got the high school expansion. I don't know whether I actually had Discover University. I feel like that one's quite old. But it was just quite fun, really, to do something a little bit different than a normal build. So I hope you're all really well, no matter where you are in the world, and you're having a fantastic start to the week. I will be completely transparent. Last week was a really difficult week for me. I had a shock passing in the family, and we lost my Auntie Mel. She was a big part of my childhood, and her passing away was actually, it was very out of the blue. She'd been very well, and it was quite a shock. So I've been taking a little bit of time out with my family just to sort of digest that and try and get our heads around what had happened and why. And it's a very tender time for all of my family at the moment. She really was the absolute heart of the family. So that's been quite difficult, and I tried my best to sort of get myself together today to do this voiceover and be able to, be my happy normal self, but it's quite difficult at the moment. I will say I've been quite fortunate to not really lose anybody substantial in my family so far. It's been a very long time, actually. I think the last person that passed away was my granddad Harry many, many years ago. And so when something like this happens, it kind of, especially when it just comes out of nowhere and just sort of sideswipes you, it kind of makes you realise just how fragile life is sometimes, and how much you have to embrace every day and just make the most of it and be happy. So yeah, it was very, very sad, but we are hoping to give her a lovely sending off and spend a little bit of time together as a family. So I just wanted to say also a massive thank you to everybody who listed who they are currently watching for content for The Sims 4 at the moment. There are so many content creators now, and I think back when I was recording last time, TikTok actually wasn't a thing back then. That's how long ago it's been, guys. And so I got into watching TikTok the other day and having a look at some Sims 4 creators, and there's loads of really good content out there. I actually came across a woman who sings songs in Simlish. She's quite well known as well, there's a lot of following, so there'll be many of you that know who I'm talking about, but she's so good at singing songs in Simlish. Like, where do you even begin with that? But I ended up watching a few of those, and I thought they were quite funny, but really, really well done as well. And she's got a good voice, so fair play. I am just a massive fan of TikTok though. I watch it all the time, and there's actually a guy on there that really, really cracks me up. He's called Antonio something, and I forget what his last name is, but he's really, really funny. He does a lot of videos based off mums in real life, and I don't know why I watch it when I go to bed, because I literally get into bed and then I'll lie there watching TikTok, and before you know it, hours have passed, and instead of me like drifting off nicely to sleep, I'm just laughing my head off in bed. So it's probably not the best thing to watch before bed, but honestly, some of the creators on there are just brilliant. So coming back to the build, I decided to set up this little wall at the front of the build with every single type of window that could possibly fit this particular style of building, and I actually found it was like a lot easier to do it that way. I kind of feel like compared to years and years ago, there's just so much choice now that the easiest bet is to just lay them out in front of you and then just pick that way. And it made the process a lot easier actually, because otherwise it would have just taken me forever to kind of pick the windows that I wanted. But I'm finally making headway now with this build. It's finally built, and I'm just starting to try to decorate the outside and place a few plants and start to think about the landscaping, which is my absolute favourite. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, because I'm not a massive fan of interiors, but I really love building and I love doing the landscaping as well. It's just some of my favourite bits to do. So yeah, as soon as I got to this point, I was feeling really, really good and excited to try and come up with a way to sort of decorate this build. And I had a lot of fun doing it as well, because because it is a school, it needed to look a certain way and have certain items in it and things like that. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And naturally, I had to make it quite prestigious looking and posh, and think about all the ways that it might look, quite elegant and well manicured. But it was kind of like making it well manicured, but also having like schooly vibes as well. So yeah, it was quite fun doing the landscaping for this one, especially when I got into the back as well. Because in fact, let me just tell you about the back and let me just explain, because I know someone's gonna spot it. In fact, I don't know if you will spot it, because I know that I didn't, but I made a tennis court at the back, and then it's only when I finished the build and I don't know if it was when I was starting to do a little bit of the gym on the indoor, but I realised that I'd actually placed the basketball, I don't even know what they're called, like the markings on the floor. I placed them the wrong way around. But rest assured, it's been fixed, and I switched them back around, and it will be uploaded in the proper layout, proper way. But yeah, I had a bit of a laugh to myself about that. In fact, it was actually my daughter that spotted it. She was like, "Mom, aren't they supposed to be the other way around?" I was like, "Yes." You didn't see that. So the interior for this build is absolutely huge. It spans over 2 floors for a start, and it's massive. And obviously the interior it took a long time. So with it being a school, some of the rooms are quite repetitive. There's lots of classrooms and things like that. So I did choose to leave out some of the stuff in the editing. I don't always like to do that. I like to really keep most of the building process in, but a lot of it was things like corridors and toilets, and so I tried to include most of it so you get an idea of how it was done. But for the most part, I didn't want it to be repetitive and boring as well. So on the ground floor of this build, we have a huge reception area with a cafeteria and a dining area. There is obviously lots of corridors which I've lined with lockers and all sorts of decorative items. There's an indoor swimming pool, a gym area, and there is like an indoor sports little bit of an area as well. But I was going to make a huge indoor sports bit, but I thought I'm not going to, so I left it out, because we've also got an outdoor court area as well. So yeah, but there is a room with chess tables as well. There is, in each one of the little turrets, they ended up being like kind of, what do they call them, caretakers rooms, that's just got like junk in it, because it's just such a tiny room that there's not really a lot you can do with it. So I thought, well, I might as well just like make those like little storeroom areas. So the upstairs of this build is where all of the classrooms are. I kind of figured that I would just put them all on one floor, and then that way hopefully they would like reach each one easily. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure how the whole schooling situation works, but I figured if I just put things, kind of located things nearer one another, then it would just be a lot easier for Sims to transition from one area to another. This right now is the basketball court bit. Yeah, don't look, you didn't see it. Anyway, moving on. So upstairs we've got all of the classrooms. There is a principal's office, and there is actually a few offices in this school as well, almost like little teachers' offices, just spread about here and there. There's more toilets on either side of the school as well for your Sims to use, and there is a huge area with lots of lockers, and there was also like a computer room which is part of the corridor. It's outside the principal's office, but it was like a bit of a large open space, so I decided to put some kind of like, make it almost like a little mini library, and it had like a load of high tabletops with computer desks, not computer desks, with computers on the top of them, and I thought that was quite a cute little area as well. So as far as I'm aware, the school's got absolutely everything your Sims will need to get through the school day. I'm not actually sure how things interact with one another, or how, I probably should have played it, shouldn't I, in hindsight, but I do know that it's got absolutely everything your Sims will need to get through a school day, and so it should be okay. Everything should function just fine. To be fair, if I'm actually going to compare it to the high school that I went to, it's definitely got more than enough in it than it needs. My high school was actually really, really nice when I was growing up. It was a really good school in the area that I was in. We also had this really posh high school as well called King's School, and it was a private school, and we would often have competitions between the schools with things like football and netball, and we would go against each other. And I remember there was often competitions with exam results between the schools, and our school would always beat them in like their exam results. And it always baffled me, because I was thinking, like, why would, as parents, why would you pay and send them to this big private school if their results were worse than a mainstream school? Didn't really make sense to me, and I never really found out the answer. So, but I do believe it's been knocked down since, and or not knocked down. I think part of it was actually possibly a listed building, and it's been converted into apartments now. So maybe the exam results just remained rubbish over the years, and they decided to do away with it. I don't know. But I know, like, schooling experience for people is really hit and miss. Like, some people either, I feel like you either had a really good schooling experience or you just really didn't. And I was one of the fortunate ones that did actually have a really good high school experience. I had a really good set of amazing best friends, and it did take a little bit of time actually to eventually come up with my little friend group. But once we had all found one another, we just had a really good time through school. The school itself, like I say, was a really good school, and it had amazing facilities. It was quite new at the time as well, and they were still building buildings and doing extensions and things like that long after I left, and I believe it's still a really brilliant school. But yeah, I had quite a positive schooling experience, but I know not everybody does, and sometimes it can suck for some people, but hopefully all the Sims in The Sims 4 will have a fantastic schooling experience within Copperdale Academy. I feel like teachers are really hit and miss as well. Like, when I was growing up, I had some teachers that were really, really good, and then I had other teachers that were just like, you just dreaded the lessons. And I really think there's something to be said for teachers who actually love their job, because I feel like everybody's come across a teacher who really almost comes across like they hate their job. And I think it makes a massive difference to how you learn. I remember I had an absolutely crazy physics teacher, and this one day we were doing this physics lesson, and we were using Bunsen burners, and our teacher was throwing, like, I think it was like foam into the air, and the Bunsen burner was like it was like catching fire. And we had this boy in our lesson that was like, "Sir, isn't there a health and safety officer who probably wouldn't approve of that?" And he was like, "James," I remember his name. He was like, "James, I am health and safety officer." And we were all like, "Oh," in the background. But yeah, we had some teachers that were absolutely brilliant, and then others, it was like, if you didn't have your homework, oh gosh, you were really in trouble. But to be fair, I was actually very, very good at school. I was a good girl at school, and I was very rarely in trouble. So yeah, school was brilliant for me. I did have a really good time, but I know with my own children, like, it's been a little bit hit and miss for them. My daughter's not had such a great experience, but my son, on the other hand, he absolutely loves it. So yeah, I feel like it's all very personal to, how your experience goes. I also used to have this German teacher called Mr. Molyneux, and I swear he used to get a kick out of just putting you on the spot. You would literally be sat there in lesson just minding your own business, you've got your head down and you're listening, and then he would just say, "Stand up," out of nowhere, and he'd be like, "How'd you say this?" And he'd make you recite a sentence in German. And honestly, I think I spent most of those lessons trying to shrink myself as small as I possibly could, just so that he wouldn't pick me to stand up and speak German. I did actually end up doing pretty well in German, but I can honestly say it wasn't because of that teacher, because yeah, he just used to frighten me to death. But yeah, schooling overall was pretty good for me, and I had a great time. I was also working out the other day as well that to date I have actually been doing the school run now for about 16 years. That's right, 16 years of doing the school run. My youngest daughter, she's just turned 8 now, so I've still got a ways to go on the school run, and I'm pretty much a part of the furniture. At my kids' like primary school, I've seen so many teachers go through that school, and I've got to be one of the oldest things in that school at this point. So just coming back to the build, I'm working on the reception area at the moment, which I quite enjoyed doing, trying to think about how I wanted it to look when you walk through the doors of the school. I lined it with lockers. I think most of the corridors have lockers in them as well. There's just loads of them everywhere. But I was trying to make it look quite pretty and inviting, but to place loads of like seating areas as well. And it was trying to remember absolutely everything you might need, you know, like things like the speakers, the PA system, and things like that. I also wanted it to have like loads of bookcases and definitely loads of trophy cases, because this was a prestigious school, and obviously in turn they would have been very proud of all of the achievements that their students made. So yeah, there's lots of trophy cabinets scattered throughout this school. And at the minute I'm just doing like an office area. I think there's something like two offices and a principal's office as well on top. I was trying to think about realistically what kind of rooms are in a school outside of just like obviously classrooms and gymnasiums and things like that. You'll see as well a little bit later on as I move on to sort of the pool area and the gym area. I didn't include absolutely all of it because it was just quite generic, and you know, it was a little bit uninteresting to be honest, but I've tried to include as much as I can so that you can kind of get the gist of the layout. I did put all of like the pool and the gym and the changing areas and things like that on one side of the school, and then on the other side at the bottom I did sort of the cafeteria and the big hall where all the kids would sit for assemblies. So there is kind of like method in the madness. So you might also see as well, just in your peripheral vision, that there's a couple of rooms here that aren't included in the editing, and it's just like, they're like little rooms that I just, like this one that's just off the pool room, I decided to make into like a little chess room at the side. I also did like a half gymnasium, as well as like a small gym, and I didn't want to go too mad on that either because I'd done such a big basketball court outside, so I left a little bit of that. But in the end of this video I have taken screenshots of all the rooms, and so you'll be able to see everything that I did in the end anyway. Also, at the very end of this build, I did decide to go back and really properly look over each room that I did, because I wanted to make sure it included absolutely everything that I wanted in there and that it looked exactly how I wanted it to look. So you might find that the finished build has some extra items in it than what you see me do in this bit where I'm editing. So the last time I actually played The Sims, it was a case of if your Sims were going to high school, they would just get on a bus and that was it. You wouldn't see them until the end of the day. So I've not actually played the high school element of it yet. So for those that have, is it good? Do you actually like it? Or is it buggy? Does it have any bugs or anything like that? I must dedicate a day, I think, to really like actually playing The Sims, because my experience of playing tends to just be building. That's all I tend to do, and it's been absolutely ages since I really played a family. I know there's so many times I've wanted to do a legacy family, and then I've got so far through and just given up. My commitment to actually playing one family is so small, it's unbelievable. But yeah, you'll have to tell me like whether you enjoy the high school element of it or the university element. I can't believe as well how many worlds there are now in The Sims. I was actually watching a TikTok video last night and someone had said the worst world in The Sims 4 is Magnolia Promenade, I think it's called. And I forgot all about that. That was like the first sort of town type of world. and it literally has 4 lots on it. But I did see another video which showed somebody had made that particular world into just the 4 lots into apartment lots, and it was just like a huge big apartment complex, that world, and I thought that was quite a good idea actually. But yeah, there are so many worlds now. I've not even had a proper look at them all, so there's probably some really good amazing lots out there as well to work with. So I am looking forward to exploring it all. It's just trying to find the time with everything to really sit down and have a look through. But which worlds do you recommend checking out, or which ones are your favourite now? So I was trying to do this cafeteria area, and these kitchen counters were driving me mad. I just couldn't find, like, sometimes when you're building it's just not working, it's just not flowing, and this was one of them rooms. And then in the end I ended up doing this divider, which kind of made things just so much easier. I really loved the shape of these rooms as well, like the way they look from the outside. They look really nice on the inside as well. And actually the exact room that's above it was the principal's office. But just trying to figure out how to place them kitchen counters with that shaped room was driving me up the wall. So yeah, I did end up putting an extra wall in, and I think I did the same in the principal's office, but I actually made the little partitioning bit into almost like a back office sort of thing. So it worked out in the end. I just kind of had to be creative with the shape room that I had. So with regards to these classrooms, I very loosely themed the classrooms. I felt like it's maybe something that when you're playing, you might want to kind of theme the rooms yourself, as in like whether you want them to be science rooms or if you want them to be like art rooms. But I did do one kind of special sort of sciencey room, and I did one special art room, and then another one was like a music room. But really it was, like I say, loosely themed. You can do whatever you want with the classrooms and change up like the decoration of them. I did go back with that classroom that I just did, and I changed the desks in it to be higher desks, like it was a sort of a proper science room, sort of a laboratory kind of atmosphere. So you'll see that in the screenshots at the end. I kind of changed that up to look a bit more sciencey than it was. This room in particular was like the arty type of room, and you'll see here I used the brand new items, which was the pottery tables from the Business and Hobbies expansion pack. They're really cute actually. So I've included those in here, but there isn't a lot of items from the Business and Hobbies pack, so if you don't have it and you still want to download this build, there shouldn't be any issues with it, or you shouldn't be missing that many items. But this was one of my favourite rooms to create, and I really loved my art room when I was at school as well. It was a really beautiful room, and it had a lot of natural light. It was one of the brand new buildings that had been introduced when, just as we were starting to do GCSE art. And we had this girl in the year above, and her name was Alex, and she was incredible at art. She was so naturally talented. But you know when it's like you see artwork and you think, oh, that's good, but then you see something and you think, wow, that is a masterpiece, that person should do art for a living. Well, she always had her work up on display, and honestly it was amazing to look at because she was so inspirational in the things that she created. Her mind really was quite amazing, you know. So yeah, that was quite a nice memory from art at school. But this build will be available to download on the Sims 4 gallery under SimKimBuilds. Thank you so much for watching if you've got this far. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already as well, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next video, which will be the Business and Hobbies expansion video. Take care guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.